great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's like it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
I'm talking about playing Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, Isaiah Collier, the rookie, Cody Williams, the rookie, Bryce Santamore, second year, maybe keep it Walker Kessler. That means either Danny Ainge thinks that they're going to be a championship team in 3 to 4 years, or he's going to wait 1 year and he's going to trade Lauri Markkanen and he's going to get the farm.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Korn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all four Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on Sport.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to be back with you here as we close out the Olympic Games. What an incredible event it was in Paris over the last couple of weeks. Hopefully you were able to catch some of our coverage here on SportsGrid as well. We'll put a bow on it today and some news for the upcoming Olympic Games in 2028 in Los Angeles. Some changes will be made, apparently. We'll break those down for you. Also, Pat Evans is with us from Legal Sports Report, the very latest in sports betting. Carlan Gay joins us courtesy of Sporting News. The WNBA now turns its attention to the restart up, which begins on Thursday. That and a whole lot more, including Christian DeBlock, breaking down news as well. It is the SportsGrid Sound Off. It is our show every day, Monday through Friday, exclusively here on SportsGrid. Let's begin with the latest news going on in sports. We begin on the business side here, which is really interesting because as you may have heard by now, we've talked about it a ton of times here on the show, athletes are suing the NCAA for past indiscretions, reparations, however you want to call it. They did not get paid for years and years feeling that they should. I'm going to try to break this down as best as I can in layman's terms. So they're seeking about $2.8 billion in past due wages, revenue, etc. And it had looked like they had come to some sort of settlement. Now, we don't know exactly what that number entails, but all of a sudden, late last week, when we were on the air, plaintiffs in the NCAA lawsuit, which of course are the athletes or people representing them, are essentially saying that they want more money. They are not willing to accept a settlement in the argument. And on Thursday, attorneys and plaintiffs for this separate lawsuit concerning the Ivy League are also refusing to award athletic scholarships filed in opposition to the proposed settlement that seeks a carve-out for the claims. So legalese aside, folks, here's the bottom line. Athletes want to get paid for money that they were unable to make. There's a class action lawsuit, essentially, which is exceeding $2.8 billion in revenue, which at this point, the longer that it goes, they're feeling like they're owed more money. Naturally, they're seeing money being paid out in NILs, NCAA football games, etc. The story goes on. The legalese goes on. We'll stay tuned. We'll cover it for you here. What an incredible finish at the Wyndham Championship. Let's go over to the PGA Tour. By the way, one player just wrapped up his play at the Wyndham Championship. I got to talk about this a little bit later in the show. The whole championship is over, except for one player, and he didn't even finish at the top. I'll get to it in a minute. Congratulations to Aaron Ray. Ends up winning in the championship because essentially, folks, he had a great day, okay? but he did not have the story of the tournament. I want to get to that here in a second, too. But first, of course, let's hear from the champion and Aaron Ray, who ended up winning it.
Yeah, I think all of those experiences are extremely valuable. It didn't mean that necessarily today was going to go really well. It didn't mean I was going to handle the situation today well, but there were definitely a few things that I'd done well over recent weeks in that situation and things that I could have done better, and felt like I did a really good job today at staying very present, very patient and very focused, and luckily things fell our way today.
Yeah, fell his way is the way to put it, as Max Greiserman had one of those days that he'll never, ever want to remember on the golf course. Folks, he had a very significant lead going into the final 9. He 3-putted from less than 3 feet out on one of the holes and ended up giving away the Wyndham Championship. Never an easy interview to do after it happened, but here it is.
Yeah, played really, really well this week. Played good enough to kind of run away with it, obviously. Stuff happens in golf that sometimes it's not meant to be sometimes, and I'm just going to walk away that I played really, really good golf, executed really well, had probably a 4 or 5 shot lead. I don't even know what 4-shot lead. I had a 4-shot lead with 5 holes to go. But 5 holes, like, if you're doing that in a PGA Tour event, you're doing something exceptionally well. So that's what I'm going to walk away with. And also, making that birdie right after making that 8. I mean, I'm going to walk away with that. And on the next hole, pin was caught on a lot of slope. Didn't really hit terrible putts late in the day. Lipped out, stuff happens. But I'm just going to walk away with more confidence. Look at the positive things and learn from the mistakes.
Don't want to do that interview. Tough interview for poor Max. But, yeah, again, as he mentioned and sort of illustrated it, and you could even hear Aaron Wright talking. Greiserman gave this thing away. And, good attitude there to have at the end, taking away the positive. But the negative was, he blew it. All right, Team USA, 40 gold medals, 44 silver, 42 bronze. That's the final medal count at the Olympics in Paris. More on the Paris Olympics coming up a little bit later in the show, and then a little bit more coming up here on the U.S. Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. Yesterday, we had 2 NFL preseason games. The star for the Denver Broncos in their game yesterday was Bo Nix. First-round pick, looked fantastic. 34-30 was the final there. They defeat the Indianapolis Colts. Colts always play a 1 p.m. game, first weekend of the NFL preseason every single year. Didn't know that. Every single year, 1 o'clock Eastern, Colts play Sunday, first week of the NFL preseason. Tradition like no other. Rams defeated the Cowboys 13-12. Stetson Bennett threw 4 picks. We'll hear from Sean McVay coming up. The Browns are having issues getting their stadium built on the lakefront here. In a letter to team owners, Dee and Jimmy Haslam said Sunday that they're backing a proposed $1.2 billion renovation of the current stadium and are committed to keeping the NFL franchise in downtown Cleveland for generations to come. They were, releasing videos and pictures of a potential new stadium, so stay tuned to that. We'll see how it ends up going. But there's a letter right now that's from county officials that are essentially saying that this proposal would create an unaccepted risk to the county's general fund. It can't be considered. We believe it's our responsibility and the best interest in our community to prioritize reinvestment in existing public assets. So public money, not so much. And maybe have to reconfigure the way that they're going to build this stadium in Cleveland. We'll see. We saw this happen many years ago, and the team went to Baltimore. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. All right, Texas A&M is going to lose one of their top stars for the season, unfortunately. Reuben Owens, one of their star running backs, he's going to miss the year after suffering a significant lower body injury. They haven't said what. This happened Saturday in a scrimmage. He was really good last year, 743 yards. He led SEC freshmen in rushing yards with 385. Their season begins Memorial Day weekend on August 31st. Max Scherzer, injured again, headed back to Texas. You got to wonder, is this the end of the line for Texas? His right shoulder again causing issues. He's going to have it looked at. Nathan Eovaldi also having issues returning to Texas. Keith Meister, the doctor who looks at a lot of these athletes, is actually in Texas. That's the only good news from this. Rangers are in trouble, to say the least. How about the Diamondbacks on the other side? They've now won 8 straight series. They took 3 or 4 from the Phillies. And since July 1st, the Diamondbacks, folks, they're 25-10. They're doing exactly what they did last year. Maybe they're going to make a run at the World Series again. AL West race is heating up. The Astros are 62-55. Mariners are 63-56. They don't play each other until next month. Maybe that's when it will get decided. And Zebby Matthews has been called up by the Minnesota Twins. He looked really good in the minor leagues. He was the 8th-round pick out of Western Carolina. He's going to make a start for them coming up here. The U.S. Olympic officials are appealing the story. I don't know if you heard this over the weekend. American gymnast Jordan Childs is being asked to return a bronze medal that she won at the Paris Olympics floor exercise. The CAS, which is the Court of Arbitration of Sport, voided an on-floor appeal by Childs' coach that vaulted her to 3rd place. They said the appeal came 4 seconds beyond the 1-minute time limit. We'll see if she has to give this back. Yikes. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says in 2028, if you're going to the Olympics, you're not going to be driving a car. It's going to be all buses. It's going to be all public transportation. Yeah, right. Good luck with that. Also, breaking news from the Olympics in 2028. Breakdancing, breaking, not going to happen. They announced this morning. I thought it was fun. Got a lot of attention on social media. They're not bringing it back for 2028. Live Golf also suspended Graham McDowell for one tournament. They also fined him over $100,000. He was using a nasal decongestant that contained a banned substance. And so he is banned from Live for trying to breathe better, essentially. That's the latest. A lot of fun stories here to start off with on the show. We're going to keep it going with Carlan Gay from Sporting News. The WNBA is back on Thursday. Can the New York Liberty continue their run? We'll find out next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Carlan Gay with us. We're going to hit the WNBA games coming up on Thursday. It's going to be a fun race to the finish, a strange NBA season or WNBA season, of course, with the stoppage here. Also, Carlan did bet the U.S. men's team and women's team to win the gold. He bet $10,000 and he won $3. Congrats, Carlan, on those odds. Nobody wanted, it's like I saw some people on social media saying, "Oh, I picked Team USA from the beginning." Like, I'm like, great job. Like there were such big favorites on both sides. There was no winning that. I mean, it was obviously great moments to see, I think. Especially from Steph there at the end. And, look, what can you say about women's USA basketball? I mean, they've been fantastic. But, needless to say, it's good to get the WNBA and get these players back going. I guess we could pivot to that, and I would ask you, do you think that their play in the Olympics will affect anything we see moving forward? Less playing time, anything like bettable or anything like that? Any clue?
Yeah, I think early on you're going to start to see a little bit of sluggish play, because, coming off of the Olympic Games, you're going to have some fatigue for some of the star players, but then you're also going to have that, basketball shape is very different than, working out in the gym. You need to be playing basketball to stay in sort of basketball rhythm. So I feel like the first couple of games for each team is going to be sloppy. Who's less sloppy is going to be, a team that takes advantage and gains a couple positions in the standings that are very close right now. And, New York, credit to them, they're head and shoulders above everybody else, and they took care of business through the first 25 games of the regular season. And I think that's going to only help them with that little bit of cushion, just in case they stub their toe coming out the gates here in the second half of the year. So knowing that Sabrina Ionescu was on the team, knowing that Breanna Stewart was on a team, both of them playing major minutes and having to come back to their club squads and stay in that rhythm and not worry about, getting tired legs and being overseas and having to travel back. I'm sure they partied. I wouldn't put it past them for partying to win the gold medal. I would. So that's going to have to get out of their system and then get back to business. It's tough, right? They're all human. They are elite athletes, but there is a tough sort of championship hangover that they're going to have to go through as we start the second half of the year.
Yeah, and it's it's funny to remember that. Yeah, I mean these girls definitely had a great time at the end of that, and now they got to get back on the court, get back to the USA play Thursday. Interesting, we saw the Indiana Fever now 11-15 on the season after that tough start, so maybe a shot for them. But they're third right there, a couple of games behind Connecticut, one game ahead of Chicago. Let's focus on the Liberty here for a minute. As you mentioned, they've been the best team in the WNBA. Their win total is 31.5, and to go over that, it's minus 146. But as you said, I mean, maybe there is a little bit of a hangover coming out. In order to hit this number, they're really going to have to play great basketball down the stretch, too, to hit it, I think.
Yeah, they are. And the sluggish part of things is going to happen more so on the offensive end for me. Defensively, they've been terrific all year, and that's what's really going to carry them through. And, they are the second best defensive team in the league right now, only behind Minnesota. And, when you put the defensive unit that they have and the way that they've been able to be cohesive on that side of the floor and couple that in with the fact that they have players that can take advantage of their mismatches whenever they have them, and Jonquel Jones and Breanna Stewart, who is, to me, the second best player in the WNBA. Sabrina Ionescu, if she's hitting her three, she's tough to beat. So they do have players individually who can get it done. But as a unit defensively, they've been really impressive to me. So I think they are going to go over that win total, no question about it for me. And it's all going to be on the back of their defense. Sandy Brondello, who was actually the Australian national team head coach, she's coming in with a good attitude. She has that mojo going. She knows what it took to get done at the Olympic Games and was able to put a defensive unit in place to do that. She has that with the Liberty here in the WNBA, and I think they'll be able to go over that win total pretty easily.
All right, now let's get over to the Western Conference, where the story is the Las Vegas Aces getting off to such a good start, but all of a sudden teams have caught them, Carlan, in the standings. They were not playing their best basketball just before the break. Minnesota and Seattle now both ahead of them in the standings, and as of right now, their total is 27.5. I guess you'll have to tell me and inform me what happened here with Las Vegas. Were they just simply running out of steam here before the break, or are they just not as good as we thought at the beginning of the season?
Listen, they're every bit as good as we thought at the beginning of the season. The problem is that they're all human. And you've seen this, covering sports your whole lives, Craig. There is a mental sort of toughness that needs to happen with teams to do it year in, year out, and go through these championship runs. They've been in the finals the last 2 years. They had to go through these grueling long seasons. And the offseason, yes, while it's there, it's not long enough, right? It's not long enough to recover and to be there mentally sharp for an entire regular season and then go to another level once we get to the playoffs, and an even higher level once we get to the finals, that is extremely tough. That's a lot of pressure. As we said off the top, like these women are human, right? Like they are human beings at the end of the day. At some point, there's going to be a dip in sort of the mental, aspect of the game. And I think that's what happened. They got caught in a couple nights where they probably shouldn't have lost games because they didn't come up with that intensity. Second half of the season, we might see much of the same until we get to the playoffs, right? Because a lot of their players, Wilson, Kelsey Plum, they were already had one eye on the regular season, one eye on the Olympics, trying to win a medal.
Right
now, coming back to the team, going to be a little tougher to kind of figure things out. So I would say right around that win total. I would actually go under personally for that win total, but I wouldn't take away from what they could do down the stretch in an opportunity to win the championship. But the regular season to them at this point, where they are as a team, probably not as important as it would be to someone like Minnesota.
Yep, and we see this in the NBA as well. We've seen it for years. These super teams that don't necessarily care that much about the regular season, although the WNBA season, of course, a little shorter. The Aces, Carlan, are still the favorite to win the WNBA championship at plus 155. But this is as close as the Liberty has been all season long, going into the second half at plus 160. Odds makers are telling us it's one of those two teams. Do you believe that?
Yeah, it's probably one of those two teams, but I'm always going to be looking for value. I like Minnesota a lot. The best defensive team in the WNBA. Defense normally wins championships. They have a star in Afisa Collier who's coming off of great Olympic Games. She should carry that momentum into the back half of the regular season. Give me Minnesota. That's where I'm putting my money to close things out.
All right, great stuff, Carlan. Thanks again for all your coverage of the Olympics. And, of course, we'll be catching up soon talking some WNBA. And before you know it, NBA as well. Thanks again for coming on.
Can't wait.
All right, Carlan Gay making all that money on Team USA, just pounding that minus 1 million to make $1 on Team USA. I'm kidding, but all right, coming up next, it's time for the sound off. We'll get into some U.S. men's soccer with our very own Kristen DeBlock. Don't go away.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. With the Olympics now in the rear view mirror, we will take a look at the U.S. men's soccer team. Also take a look at an up-and-coming quarterback in the National Football League. Let's get to it. It's time for the SportsGrid Sound Off. And we begin with U.S. men's soccer, which was not a great run at the Olympics, but not a surprise either. It has been a struggle, needless to say, to even medal for the U.S. men's team. But meanwhile, the women have had no issue with that whatsoever as they roll on. So I guess the question is, can the men take a cue from the women? That's the topic that Christian DeBlock from our social media team explores.
If the United States is serious about becoming a dominant force in men's soccer, they should follow the women's lead. The women's team underperformed at the 2022 World Cup, and as a result, they made a coaching change. They aimed high and brought in Emma Hayes, one of the best club coaches in the world. Less than a year later, she brought gold home from the Paris Olympics. Moving on from Greg Berhalter was the right decision. But with the Men's World Cup coming to the United States in 2026, they need to get this hire right. As of now, Jurgen Klopp is not an option. If that continues to be the case, former Chelsea boss Maurizio Pochettino would be an excellent fit. Back to you, Craig.
Thanks very much, Christian. And naturally, it was just that easy, then Team USA's men would be winning gold medals and silver medals just like the women. It just hasn't been simple for them. Well, the NFL sure seems simple for Bo Nix. It was the NFL preseason, but he got his first look yesterday as a member of the Denver Broncos. It looked really good. 15 of 21, 125 yards and 1 touchdown. There was some thought that Nix wouldn't even play in the NFL preseason, but he took it in stride, did a good job, and said the only thing that was different, essentially, was the NFL's pace of play.
I could tell it was a little bit faster. It was definitely more professional. I mean, the guys are in the right spots. They're disguising. They're doing well. They're where they're supposed to be. But, I felt very, calm and relaxed back there. It was just a game. They were still in cover 3 and quarters. And, man, I mean, it's the same defense. And so you just got to figure out which one they're in and then execute the play that's called. But I thought we did a great job with our play calls today. We stayed in rhythm. We ran the ball efficiently, and that's always nice. And so overall, it was a very productive day.
And Nix will have an opportunity, it would appear, to grab the starting job at the outset of the season. But before we get too crazy with Bo Nix, let's temper our excitement a little bit. He does have a good coach behind him, but it's not like the Broncos haven't had their fair share of busted quarterbacks since Peyton Manning left. I mean, they have gone through it in the National Football League, including Russell Wilson, who's no longer there. All right, speaking of which, you may be familiar with a name on the Los Angeles Rams, may get a chance to play eventually. I don't know, Stetson Bennett, remember him? Quarterback at the University of Georgia. Well, his preseason debut this year didn't go as well as it went last year. Stetson Bennett threw four interceptions in their game against the Dallas Cowboys. But as Sean McVay said, it didn't bother him or the Rams 1 minute. In fact, he loved the outcome of the game yesterday.
All right, guys, preseason, that was a hell of a deal. That was fun. I mean, man, that was great. I mean, the excitement, the emotion. I thought our guys really just responded consistently, and obviously want to be able to minimize the turnovers, but, didn't really surprise me. We were talking on the headset as coaches. It's like, you know what? He's the type of guy that he's probably going to go lead us on a game-winning touchdown drive, and Stetson did a great job. I thought there was a lot of positive things from our defense in sudden change situations. Was really pleased with Josh Carty. In the field goal operation. I thought even Ethan Evans punted the ball really well. We've got a chance to be able to pin the one inside the one, and we'll learn from that. But Jordan Whittington also really stood out to me. You can see he's got a great look in his eye, great game day demeanor. I thought a bunch of our young defensive players did as well, and that was fun today. It was awesome to be able to see that for the guys.
Yeah, and I think, look, for the Rams, and right now their season win total on FanDuel is around right over 500, 9 wins, somewhere along those lines. At some point, I don't know if it's going to be Stetson Bennett, but that's a team that's going to have to address the quarterback position. And maybe Bennett is the guy that McVay is going to lean on if McVay is there. Remember, a couple of years ago, there was some thought that he would leave. Matthew Stafford, not going to play forever. Rams are one of those teams to see what kind of transition period they go through. And on defense, of course, without Aaron Donald, that transition has begun. We'll take a quick time out here on NewsWire. When we come back next, Pat Evans joins us from Legal Sports Report. Can this filibustering in Missouri ever end? Will they ever get sports betting in Missouri? I don't know the answer to that, but Pat will help us answer it coming up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to have Pat Evans with us from LegalSportsReport.com to go over the very latest in sports betting. We'll see if Missouri can get their act together and ever get sports betting on the ballot. That decision is coming, so we got Pat to talk about that. Pat, thanks again for coming on the show. Great to catch up with you. Hope you had a good weekend.
Thanks as always, Craig. I think we're on a little bit of a delay because of my terrible internet connection today, but hopefully people are okay with that, and we'll get through it here now.
All right, let's get started. Let's talk about the ever-growing and changing landscape of Canada and sports betting there. Our first focus here is Alberta. Let's begin with Jay Snowden, the CEO of Penn, having some very intriguing words on what the future may look like there.
Yeah, so it wasn't that long ago that Penn, Jay Snowden is the CEO of Penn Entertainment, they spent $2 billion on the Score, a very well-known Canadian sports, entertainment brand, however you want to put it, with a sports betting arm. They spent a lot of money on that, and then they took them out of America, where they had a little bit of a, endeavor, but very little market share. And so now we're going, and they're laying, what they can do in Ontario was huge with the Score from all signs. And now they're looking at Alberta, which, we've talked about before on this show, that Alberta is going to open up. It's a very small province in comparison to Ontario. The population's tiny, but there's a lot of betting going on there. There's a lot of casinos. There's a lot of people who like to bet, from what I gathered at the Canadian Gaming Summit last 2 months ago now. And there's a lot of people very bullish, including Jay Snowden and Betway, a brand that just pulled out of the U.S. or will be pulling out of the U.S., but they're going to stay in Canada, and they see big things in Alberta too, because a lot of brands have been okay with what's happened in Ontario, and they see Alberta going ahead and taking exactly that model and putting it in Alberta, and really benefiting from a public that likes to bet on sports and bet in general. I mean, one of the people at the Canadian Gaming Summit a couple months ago pointed to the Oilers playoff 50-50 raffles. During the regular season, they were, $4 million or something like that. Nothing huge. It got up to $12-16 million during the playoffs from their anecdotes, which is pretty wild if you think about that. And coming away from a game with half of that, that'd be okay. But that just shows that they're very excited about the prospect of being able to bet on their teams. I would think just going to a game and throwing down some money because of a raffle. But there's lots of teams there. There's the hockey teams. There's the Canadian football teams. There's, of course, the NFL. Everybody loves the NFL. So a lot of opportunity in Canada, and brands are already talking about Alberta being the next frontier there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that our fourth quarter story of the year is going to be focused on the sports betting changes, I think, in Canada, maybe even more here than the U.S. All right, well, one change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away. So the deadline is tomorrow. So, Pat, what's going to happen tonight? Well, I mean, I'm getting ready here. Should we just buckle up, get some popcorn, and get ready for, filibustering to the end again?
No, so thankfully we're not talking about the legislative route this time. That's the good thing for Missouri. We're talking about the ballot here. They've had this ballot initiative. The Cardinals came out and said, we're going to go around Senator Denny Hoskins, the man you're talking about, who has filibustered at length at times, including an 8-hour reading of Ronald Reagan's biography. That was a wild night, as you can imagine. But so this has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures. What's the difference? I'm not entirely sure, but it's all part of this very specific process that needs to be done. If that's verified and all good to go, it will be placed on the ballot in November. Now, here's where it gets kind of crazy, and what I've been hearing from sources, nothing official yet, because if you're going to go against it, you have to file something with the Secretary of State, and you start seeing the opposition there. But there is a significant opposition party kind of floating about that people say could make a huge dent. I am working on a story and hopefully get some real verified sources here, and we can talk about it next time I'm on. But it could be a real danger to this ballot initiative come November, because it is a significant player in the industry in Missouri. So that's a big thing that's kind of floating out there. Now, the good thing for this ballot initiative is FanDuel and DraftKings are all in and trying to get it done. One source suggested that they might try to drop out because, the polling's not super great. It might be kind of a toss-up at this point in terms of what the vote will be in November. And so they're saying if you swing and miss, you're done. If the public support's not there and they show it and demonstrate it at the polls, then you go into the next legislative session, and the people who were supportive of it in the legislature, not named Denny Hoskins, will say, well, you know what? The public didn't want it. Why are we going to put so much effort to get it done? So Missouri remains this just fascinating state of what could happen. A couple people have made great points. DraftKings and FanDuel are multi-million dollars into this endeavor, so why would they just drop it? Because it's, there might be some opposition. Mm-hmm. Again, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to definitely be a couple interesting months. To your point, Q4, I mean, Canada right now has the only market on the, launch pad, I guess you would want to call it. Missouri could be there if it passes in November. But so that's kind of all eyes on Missouri when you're looking at U.S. sports betting, and kind of the optimism of the industry is right now is kind of laying on that state.
Yeah, I would agree. And a state that, again, has had its opportunities to legalize sports betting has fallen short. Kentucky, not as much. Kentucky often running with sports betting. And naturally, we've gotten some numbers here. Jim Ghazali was on the show a couple of weeks ago talking about the success that Kentucky has had. Circa Sportsbook is now having a physical location in Kentucky. What's this all about? Why is Circa taking their talents like LeBron to Kentucky? I didn't see this coming.
So I think there's a few things here. One, talk about a state that surprised us all, unlike Missouri. They kind of skirted through it in the legislative session a few years ago and got it done and then launched. And to your point, it's been very successful for the state. And I don't think that's necessarily a big surprise. They're big in horse racing and they've got plenty of pedigree in that, no pun intended. But Circa is one of these sports books that I think has a long future ahead of it. Unlike some of these other smaller brands that are kind of popping in and trying to compete. I think, we've talked before about all these brands that are bowing out of the market. They just can't generate market share. Their business models aren't making sense. You talk about, different things that could go wrong with sports books. Circa has their model. They know what they're doing. You're going into a market that's ripe for, I think, that exact market because of the horse racing kind of background. And I think it's those small sports books, not named FanDuel, Bet365, DraftKings. Right. Those ones are going to continue and take up most of the market share. It's the small sports books that know what they're doing, that know exactly what their business model is. They're going to take the market share they can and be successful at and be okay. And then the market will evolve around that and let them be, I would think. So anyway, certainly a sports book to kind of watch as the industry matures.
Yeah, Bet River is a good example of what Pat is talking about, one of those companies. All right, Pat, thanks again for coming on. Probably going to see you later in the week, so I'll see you when I see you.
Probably. All right, bye, Craig.
With us from Legal Sports Report, Dan Fetes joins us coming up next. Time to talk some Buffalo Bills football. How will they be this year? See if we can get an answer next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We continue to take a look at NFL training camp as we get you ready for the season. Dan Fetes, of course, covers the Buffalo Bills and all Buffalo sports. ABC 13 in Buffalo joins us now. We'll break down exactly how the Bills have looked thus far and what they will look like during the regular season. Dan, thanks again for coming here on NewsWire. It's great to meet you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Craig. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So Dan, I think that this is a strange year for the Bills going in. It's like for the first time in a while, we're going into a season where, at least from the outside looking in, there are some people that are a little down on the Buffalo Bills. The last few years, they've been sort of that, hey, let me pick the Bills as a sleeper to win the Super Bowl. First time ever, they're probably, or not ever, but first time in the last few years, they're not in that situation. In the division, some people feel the Jets have caught them. Maybe the Dolphins will catch them. And, certainly that's the perception on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Do you feel that same perception going into training camp or preseason?
Super Bowl for sure. I don't think they're necessarily there right now, but we all know how weird and some seasons can take a turn. You talk about the departures. This team lost 6 out of their 7 captains from last year. It's not just starters. You're talking about mainstays that have been in Buffalo the entire Sean McDermott era. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Mitch Morris, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. Like, the list goes on. And the team has acknowledged it. And while fans may say, oh, it's so great, thank goodness Diggs is gone and all that drama, they've lost leadership. And that's the big thing. And where is Josh Allen? We're 2 minutes into this and we haven't talked about Josh Allen. They still have Josh Allen. So there is that sense of, can they put pieces back together? And that's what they're still trying to figure out. But talking to Deion Dawkins, talking to other guys on the team, they admit it feels different. There's different voices being heard. Different guys have to step up as leaders. They're being put into asked to do new roles that they haven't done. As for the product on the field, I still think that this is still a really good football team. And I still have a ton of faith in Sean McDermott to put together a high-level defense. And then it's kind of figuring out, can Josh Allen raise the talent of the players around him now that there's no Diggs, now that Gabe Davis is gone, now that you're trying to bring in some new pieces and bring them along? Where will the offense be in a first full season with Joe Brady, who took over in the middle of last year when Ken Dorsey was fired? So there's a lot more questions than answers heading into this year than, like you said, Craig, in years past.
Yeah, and look, Joe Brady had so much success at LSU with Joe Burrow, not as much with Carolina, but I've always been a big fan of his. I thought that he'd be a head coach at this point. Maybe the Bills are fortunate to have him. Maybe just having him for a full season will be the answer because, the additions in the offseason were very menial at best, just adding Hollins, Samuel, Valdez-Scantling to the offense. I mean, if those players are a major part of the team, I think, Dan, that something has gone wrong because they drafted Keon Coleman, was fantastic at Florida State in the second round, but I have not been at camp, so I don't know. I mean, you tell me thus far, Dan, is it looking like he's going to have an impact like they want him to? Because if he does not, then we go back to those names that we just discussed.
Yeah, Craig, I was a little skeptical about Keon from his time at Florida State, and I know analytics can do one thing or another. I know people freaked out about his 40 time not being where it was, but his gauntlet was the fastest, and that everybody makes the comparison of Puka Nacua and all these things. That's great, but you can't always just point out one thing that you like about somebody because somebody else did it and then go, well, he's going to be the next Puka. That's not fair either. What I have liked what I've seen is that nothing seems too big for Keon. He has made multiple splash plays at training camp where we all take our phones out right after and go whoa, that was next level. He isn't necessarily a guy that right now has a full tool belt of separation at the line of scrimmage. He has been getting jammed in man coverage drills when they just go one-on-one, but he's got a really good vision to find zone. I know it's a dumb buzzword, but it's true. He can play above the rim. Josh Allen has had to learn this offseason because he's got Keon and Matt Collins, who's 6'4", and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's 6'3". He has learned how to throw the ball higher because we've joked before at training camps, it's been Cole Beasley, John Brown, Stephon Diggs. It's kind of been like McDermott a few years ago called the wide receiver room the Smurfs. Now they've got guys that have size and things like that. So I've been impressed because I had a lower expectation maybe of where I thought Keon would be coming out of Florida State, where I'm not going to break down the all-22 on Keon, but I didn't think he really ran a whole bunch of routes. It was kind of like, go down the field, I'll throw you the ball. He has shown a little bit more polish and maturity early on. He's just 21 years old, but his size, and he catches the ball so well. We see guys that have late hands where you always talk about like cornerbacks play through when they see the wide receiver's hands go up. He brings them up real late. He's very confident in catching the ball. All of those things are pluses, and it's just a matter of going back to the original point. What can Joe Brady do with it? He's got a brand new blank slate. There's no number one wide receiver. They've kind of talked about earlier in training camp, Sean McDermott called them, who's that spot, the wide receiver room. And he goes, it's kind of like your utensil drawer. And he goes, sometimes you open it up and you don't really know what you have, but you know it's in there. And he goes, and sometimes when you're unloading the dishwasher, you're like, where does this thing go? That's kind of what this Bills wide receiver room is. They're trying to figure out who's going to go where. And when I've asked Joe Brady, and hey, do you need a X wide receiver or this wide receiver? He wants the entire team to know the philosophy, the system in place so that guys can interchange and play on the outside and play on the inside. So there's a lot of versatility there. It's just, how will it pan out? That's what we need to find out.
Yep, we do. I need some forks in my house here, Dan. All right, so win total for the Bills. Everyone is pounding the under at 10.5. It's minus 150 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. This is trending toward 10. Let's just call it what it is. Are bettors on the right side here, or will the Bills surprise some people?
I think the Bills will surprise a few people. I think so much has been made of the pieces that they've lost. They still have Josh Allen, and they still have a really, really good defensive coordinator or head coach in Sean McDermott, however you want to break it up. Even with all the injuries the defense had last year to Matt Milano, Daquan Jones, all these guys, they were still a damn good defense. I expect them to be a really good defense. Again, they may not be as high scoring offensively, but I think they'll be solid.
All right. Thanks again, Dan. Great to have you here on NewsWire. Appreciate the knowledge.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be right back.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It's time to touch a little bit on the Olympic Games, what the future may look like, and what Steph Curry has done in the games as well. It's time now for us to touch on these topics and a whole lot more in Last Licks. Definitely the best story of the day. Definitely the best story of the day on the PGA Tour. Matt Kuchar did not win the Wyndham Championship, although he was playing very well. I believe he was the leader after day one or day two, but he did not win, and he ended up finishing 12th. But what was very odd was yesterday, because he could not finish, usually what happens is players who are not in contention just get their score, and that's the end of the line. But for Kuchar, he said, no way. I want to finish playing my final hole. So what he did was he asked the PGA Tour, could he finish on Monday? They said yes. And they all came back to let Matt Kuchar final hole. Now, he ended up playing it out. And you may ask yourself, why did he do this? By the way, when he came back this morning, he also asked for a little obstruction to be moved so he could putt. This is no joke. So they all come back. Media comes back as well. And inevitably, the reason why he did this, although it seemed very silly and people were poking fun of him on social media, is because he's still fighting to keep his PGA Tour card to finish in the top 125. And so that stroke, him making that final putt today, although meaningless and didn't involve any money or anything else, did potentially mean something to him. After he finished the round, he did apologize to the media and the PGA Tour for making everybody come back. But before you go ahead and take shots at this guy, I mean, that is life-changing money to keep your PGA Tour card. Kuchar's not, been one of the best golfers over the last 4 or 5 years. He just wants to continue to play. So I say, good job, man. I understand. Completely fine by me as Matt Kuchar ends up finishing. Now, how about the performance from Steph Curry at the Olympics in Paris? I mean, did he single-handedly get the U.S. team the gold? I don't know if that's fair to say, but single-handedly he has made McDonald's change their opinion of him. How about this? McDonald's yesterday in Paris, France, announced that they're thinking about removing the curry sauce that they have apparently at the McDonald's in Paris, France, for the next 4 years, following yesterday's basketball Olympic final between Team USA and France. Now, obviously, this is a little bit of a joke, but it's a good one on social media, to say the very least. Do they really have curry sauce for like fries and McNuggets there in France? I was not aware of that. I did not know that. I thought it was just like, when basically in McDonald's I don't have a lot of experience going there, but I think when you get the McNuggets or you get some sort of sauce, you're offered like barbecue sauce or mustard sauce, but curry sauce I've never heard of here. Maybe I'll ask for it at my local McDonald's. Again, I'm not a McDonald's enthusiast here. No disrespect to them. It's just, get older, you kind of move some things out. My dog does like the fries. All right, so breakdancing at the Olympics. It got a lot of attention on social media. I secretly think, by the way, that the Olympic Games, they waited till the very end to do breakdancing. I don't think that this was a coincidence. I think it was strategic because a lot of people, let's be honest, they crapped all over breaking at the Olympic Games. There were people using videos. I saw the Seinfeld theme attached to one of it. People saying that they were going to try out for the Olympic Games in 2028 at breaking. They don't call it breakdancing, they call it breaking. But news today broke from the Olympic Games that in 2028, breaking is out. No more breaking in the Olympics. Unfortunately, folks, if you were thinking about training for the Olympic Games and breaking, you're not going to be able to do it. The writing was on the wall. It got poo-pooed a lot this weekend in Paris. I thought it was fun to see, but is it Olympic sport in the end? I'm not so sure. We may have baseball, though. We may have baseball at the Olympic Games in 2028, and maybe Major League Baseball players, too. But no breaking. It's out. It's done. No curry sauce, no breaking at the next Olympics. Thanks to our director, Luke, our producer, Frank, for a great show once again today. I'll get you caught up of what's going on the rest of the day here. We have the early line, and that is followed by Kaplan at 1 o'clock Eastern. Kaplan and crew, Pharrell Coast to Coast, Game Time Decisions, in-game live. and then Gabe on Sports Rage tonight. Also want to thank Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report and also Dan Fetes for coming on and talking some Buffalo Bills football. In addition, thanks to Carlan Gay from Sporting News. That'll do for the show. I'm Craig Mish. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for our next edition of